Hi everyone, so today we are going to solve this question. Find the length of the last word. Okay, so the input will basically be a string. Input will basically be a string and we have to find the length of the last word. Okay, so let us consider some example. So if our input is hello, so these are spaces. Okay, so if our input is hello space world, then this is the last word. Okay, so this is the last word and the length of this word is basically 5. Okay, so our output for this example will basically be a 5. The length of the last word, which is world, and its length is 5. Okay, now this is an empty string. So for empty string, obviously the last word does not exist, so our output will be 0. Length of the last word is basically 0. Now let us consider this input. So for this input, we have spaces here, then we have a word, then we have a word world, then we have spaces again. Okay, so which is the last word? So this is basically the last word, and this is also the first word, and this is also the last word. So basically the length of the last word is 5. So our output for this input is basically a 5. Okay, so this is simply an implementation problem. Okay, this is simply an implementation problem. So what we will do, so we will start from the beginning of the string. So suppose this is a very large string. So what we have to do, so we will start from the beginning of the string. We will iterate, we will maintain a variable count, which we will update. Okay, so as soon as we encounter a space, so what we will do, we will make this count variable 0. Okay, and then when we will encounter the variable again, we will encounter another character, we will update this count variable. Okay, so this is simply an implementation problem. Now let us write the code. Okay, we can directly write the code. Basically this is a lead code problem. Okay, so you can read the problem statement. So the input will basically be a string. There can be empty spaces and we have to return the length of the last word. Okay, so now let us write the code. So first let us create a variable count, which will store our answer. Okay, this count variable will store the length of the last word. So what I am doing here is, so basically there are many ways to implement the solution for this problem. So what are the ways? So first, what you can do, you can reverse the string. So if you will reverse the string, so the problem is very simple. You have to find the length of the first word. Okay, you have to find the length of the first word if you will reverse the string. Second approach is basically start iterating from the end of the string. If you will start iterating from the end of the string, what you have to do, you have to find the length of the first word from the end. Okay, you have to find the length of the first word from the end if you will start iterating from the end. Okay, you have to find the length of the first word from the end if you will start iterating from the end of the string. And the third way to implement this problem is basically start iterating from the first. Okay, start iterating from the first. So there are many ways to implement this problem. So let's say I am implementing this approach. Okay, so these two approaches are very simple to implement. So this is little bit difficult, I think. So let me implement this approach. Okay, so I have a variable count which is initially 0. Now let us find out the size of the string. So s.size. Okay, so let us take a pointer. So we are iterating from the start of the string. So I equals 0. So while I is less than n. Okay, so first of all check whether this character is a space character or any other character. So if this character is not space, I can safely do count plus plus. Okay, because this character is not space. So I can do count plus plus, I can do I plus plus, move ahead. Okay, now in the else part, so the current character is basically B. So the current character is a space. Okay, so while the current character is a space, so while the current character is space, what can I do? I can do I plus plus. Okay, so what I am doing here is, for example, you have a string hello, then you have space, and then you have multiple spaces, and then you have the word W. Okay, so if you will encounter a character, so at this point, if I encounter a character which is space, So while the character is space, I am moving ahead. So move ahead, move ahead, move ahead, move ahead, move ahead, and here I will stop. Okay, because this character is not space. Okay, but while writing this code, you have to also write the condition I is less than n. Otherwise, you may get runtime error. Okay, we have to write this condition. Otherwise, you can get segmentation fault or you can get runtime error. So now let us write that condition also. So while I is less than n and basically the character is space, what you can do I plus plus. Now there are two ways to break this while loop. First, the I becomes equals to n. Okay, so if I becomes equals to n, that means we reach the end of the string. Okay, so we have reached the end of the string. Our answer is present in the variable count, so you can return count. Okay, so we have reached the end of the string. Okay, so and our answer was present in the variable count, so I will return count. Now in the else part, I have not reached the end of the string and there are still characters. So what I will do, I will make count equals 0. Okay, so the meaning of this is basically you didn't reach the end of the string and there are still characters. So basically we have to make the count variable 0 because there are still characters present. Okay, and finally what we will do, so when this while loop will end, I can return my answer which is present in the count variable. Okay, so now let us first run our code and then we will try to submit our code. Okay, now let us submit our code. Okay, so our code is working fine. Now let us discuss the time and the space complexity for our solution. So as we can see clearly, we are just creating only few variables. So the space complexity is basically constant. So this is order of 1, big O of 1, and the time complexity is linear because we are just iterating over the string. Okay, so we are simply iterating over the string. So the time complexity is big O of n and the space complexity is order of 1. Okay, so if you have any doubt in this question, you can ask me. Okay, thank you.